Good morning. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. I have chapter 5 that we're starting on today. Chapter 5 on the book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And this book has been, I think, has lots of great, amazing tips and strategies and points and things to consider in regards to leadership. And one of them is today on chapter 5, it's cover and move. It's called Cover and Move. I'm going to share a little bit about what it talks about here in the book, and then go over the couple of questions that I have in the activity for this chapter, and then also mention some of the things that I think are relevant or great for this time in life and in the kind of situation we find ourselves in. So, Extreme Ownership, Jocko Willink, chapter 5. This one's called Cover and Move. So let me just go over quickly a little bit about what it says in chapter 5 and what cover and move means. So it says, often when smaller teams within a team get focused on their immediate task, they forget about others and what they're doing and how they depend on these other teams. They may start to compete with one another, and when there are obstacles, that becomes a challenge, because then they play the blame game, and it falls on the leaders to then keep perspective on the overall bigger picture, the overall bigger strategic mission, and remind the team that they're part of a greater team and a greater mission, and that is most important. It also talks a little bit about, so it says cover and move is about teamwork across teams. So it's when you get departments and you have leaders of departments, or you have managers, and their teams are, brought together. And hopefully you're doing that with your business or with whatever teams that you have. You're doing it on a regular basis so that you can show how each team works together, and then you can then show how that works to the bigger picture. And I think that there's more to it here. It talks a little bit about being achievement-minded. They do this in keeping the overall goal the top of mind, for which the teams are then hence encouraged to collaborate across teams to achieve the goal. So we're talking about how do we best work together to then create that overall goal. And then I have some thoughts on that, but I want to get to the questions that I have in this activity sheet. Cover and move is simply a call for the teams to work together. If teams will forsake this principle of cover and move, then the consequences on the mission or the overall goal will be catastrophic to the overall performance of the company or the mission of the team in general. If teams, it's important for leaders to maintain perspective on a strategic mission, constantly be reminded of the teams that they need to be part of this bigger picture, and how organizational missions prevail in all circumstances. So question number 1, it talks about, have you seen situations where teams didn't use cover and move in an organization? And I've seen it in smaller companies, and I've seen it in bigger companies. And I think the challenge sometimes is the way that the leaders are organizing this. You have the CEO directing the company, and there needs to be clear communication and clear directives to the teams, and then those teams need to be able to understand how that affects the overall goal. Now, what I've seen, that one of 2 or 3 things that usually happens that affects this in a negative way is that either the goal is not, the overall mission and goal is not specific enough, or it's so general that when you get together with your teams, they understand what you're talking about, but then they go away thinking, well, if I run my department this way, I will feel better and I'll feel more productive, and that will help me and my team. Whether that helps the overall mission, well, it probably does, because the mission's pretty general, and we'll make more money, and that'll be good. The other one is where they get together and it's really specific. It's so specific that they understand exactly what it is that they need to do, but then it's not clear on how they can then work towards making that work as a team. So it's so specific, but it's not drawn in as, hey, these teams, if we work together, this is how it's going to go to the overall mission of the company. And then another one is that they just don't communicate enough. It's not clear enough. It's not consistent enough. And because of that inconsistency, then they just start to do their own thing, and they run their own show, and you have little departments running their own little parts of the business, and hopefully that's accomplishing something for the greater goal of the company. So I have seen that. I've seen it work against each other because of either the lack of the clarity or the generalization of the actual mission, or the lack of communication. Where I think it works best, there's actually another book called Entrepreneurial Operating Systems, EOS, and there's a whole method to their madness, and it's actually really good. It speaks to each department, and it speaks to how to best have meetings, and how to best implement and strategies, and how to best follow up with departments, and then how to best track progress. It's really good, and I definitely recommend that. If it's actually a pretty short read, but then it has some great details. EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating Systems, and there's a whole thing to it. It's great. And then the last part about this, chapter 5, I really like this. Cover and move, teams working together. So important, because once they do, it's super efficient. You imagine just working individually together, creating something. Imagine sending off teams that all have many people under them, all working towards that clear goal of how they understand that they're part of that team, that then creates that overall mission and completing the goals that they want. I think it's so effective, like incredible. But how do we try to improve those situations after reading this chapter? So how do we try and improve on teams working together so that you can achieve that overall goal? I believe the answer is simple but often difficult to implement. It's the head of the department or branch that needs to be effective in the way of communicating plans and processes on a regular basis, right? On a regular basis, to ensure that everyone is clear and on track. And that's what I talked about with the Entrepreneurial Operating System, the EOS system. If you look up that book, it's very clear and concise on how to best do that. Consistent, clear communication with each department head or branch to achieve goals of the entire company. Led and directed by the CEO with extreme ownership led from the top down. Extreme ownership meaning you are responsible now. You understand how you fit in this part of the puzzle of creating this massive goal to come to pass. And now you have to take that extreme ownership and go towards your team and make that clear, and then have them work towards their goals. So then everyone's achieving not only individual goals, but then as a team, and then bringing it back to the company. So I know that sounds simple, but if it was, why isn't everyone doing it and having extraordinary success? Why do most of small businesses fail? I think they don't understand the part of teams working together, or having even individuals work together towards a clear goal. Cover and move, teams working together. this is chapter 5. There's only 12 chapters in this book, so we'll get through this pretty quick. I'll start back again next week with chapter 6. So we'll already be halfway. And if you ever want to, you can look back at the videos, or you can look back at the other posts, and you can see the activity sheet, learn more about this book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. I think it's great. I like to do this. I'm going to be doing this for books in the future. If you have any book suggestions, what are you reading? Personal development or business-wise, or something that motivated you, let me know. Shoot me some your recommendations of a book to read in the comments. So I hope you have an incredible Friday. It's Friday right now here. Make sure that you're trying to work together with these teams. These teams then work towards that clear goal in knowing how that can be, how you can be implemented in towards that goal, so that you feel effective, you feel somewhat part of that overall picture, and then you'll be able to smash the goals and complete the things that you need to as a company or corporation. I hope that helps. I hope you have an incredible weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. We'll see ya.